Come on, let's merry-go, merry-go, merry-go-round. Do, 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 merry-go, merry-go, merry-go-round. Do, 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 me and you can go merry-go-round. It's very easy, just go up and down. Come on, let's merry-go, merry-go, merry-go-round. Do, 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 merry-go, merry-go, merry-go-round.
Thanks a lot. It's great to be back here on television again. Wasn't it Andy Warhol who once said, everybody will be famous for 15 minutes? Actually, that's not what he said at all. What he actually said was, I'd like a minicab in 15 minutes. They always get the bleeding message wrong, don't they? Anyway, this is my first TV series since 1995, and obviously a great deal has changed. I'm 6 months older for a start. I've got loads of new material now, loads of brand new material, so here we go. Kajagoogoo get into their Sinclair C5 and head off to East Berlin. Well, it's really difficult thinking up new material, you know. So what have I been doing in between series? Well, obviously I like to spend a lot of time staring off into the middle distance, rocking backwards and forwards and humming. And the BBC have been awfully good to me. They got me a job damaging dogs for Animal Hospital. But I have done other stuff. The valley below me looks peaceful enough now, but in the 16th century it was rife with brigands and highwaymen. The only way the pilgrims could be sure of reaching Santiago, 200 miles to the east, was by cannon. Of course, when I say sure of reaching, most of them, in fact, were splattered like the ripe tomatoes that litter the... I do a lot of voiceovers for radio ads, but what I like is when there's an ad on the radio for some financial product, like loans or mortgages or something, and they say really quickly, right at the end of the ad, your pets may be disemboweled if you do not keep up payments. Hey, what the? You may be hung from a gibbet and your liver pecked out by ravens if you do not keep up payments. Hey, what the? Recently, I actually appeared in my first ad.
The shuttle. It's only caught fire once.
But perhaps my favourite piece of work was my sitcom for BBC One, Castaway Colin, in which I played the only character. And every episode ended with me saying, oh, so it wasn't somebody else who stole my shoes. I must have stuffed them up that tree while I staggered around in my malnourished delirium. One of the tough things about being a comedian is that you have to do a lot of travelling. But before I set out on a journey, I always sprinkle a little salt and pepper and just a hint of tarragon onto me bollocks, because I'm a well-seasoned traveller. In this show, I pretend to be like a real hard case, a real psycho. But it's all an illusion, it's a lie. Mind you, when I was at school, I did know some real nutcases, some real hard cases, you know. You have to be really careful what you complain about, because real psychos, if they like you, they like to do you favours, you know. They're always coming up to you in the school playground going, that problem you had with the school hamster, it's being sorted, yeah. There's a new fairy kebab down the chip shop. Oh, you might complain about the prices in the local sweet shop. You'll be going past the next morning and you'll find the owner crucified to his own front door with £1/2 of toffee brittle rammed up his arse. And I still really regret complaining to Stokesy, the bully of 4C, about President Kennedy's foreign policy in Vietnam. As I said before, I'm not really this hard case in a tight suit. So let's have a look at the real me inside my real house. Hi, I'm Alexei Sayle. And this is my house in the country. I mean, it's in the country. Well, don't be shy. I like to read left-wing magazines because they delude me into thinking that I live in a world that cares. About 5 years ago, I saw an advert asking if I'd like to adopt a whale. So I sent off my £20, and in return, I got an adoption certificate, a photo of my new whale, Minky, and a warm glow of smugness. Guaranteed to last for 18 months! Then, a few months later, I got a letter in very, very large writing, which said, "Dear Dad, how's it going, man? Sorry I haven't written. Thank you for that 20 quid. However, I have now run out of krill and plankton and could do with another 2 grand to tide me over. Tar ever so much, Minky." Then, a couple of months later, another letter. "Dear Dad, thanks very much for the extra £2,000. I have invested it wisely. I now have a career in show business. The CD of my whale song, which contains some cover versions but is mostly original material, is at number 31 in the Mood Music charts. Love as ever, your son, Minky." Things seemed to be going well, but then the next letter brought a surprise. "You bastard," it said. "You bastard. You're not my real dad. You think you own me, but you don't. You're not my dad. You're not my real dad. I hate you. I hate you. P.S. I am washed up on an Alaskan beach. Please come and roll me back into the sea." And after I pushed him back into the water, he looked up at me with his big eyes and said, "Dad, I want to go home." And he's still here. He plays his whale music really loud. He eats all the krill in my fridge. And he will insist upon watching MTV's Summer Beach Grind. But at my age, it's nice to have the company. We should know by now that we mess with nature at our peril. Grey squirrels were introduced into Britain, cane toads were introduced into Australia, both times with disastrous results for the native ecosystems. But what is perhaps less well known is the catastrophe that befell Milton Keynes shortly after it was built. Milton Keynes was built in the 60s as part of a scheme to create exciting and prosperous new towns. Whilst the new city had clean roads, new homes and plenty of street lighting, it had no culture. There was no organic tradition in the arts or music to entertain the new young citizens. The council hit on a radical solution. Trad jazz musicians were introduced in an effort to kickstart the local music scene. At first, everything seemed to go to plan. Unfortunately, the jazz musicians had no natural enemies. In the predator-free zone of the new town, they started to breed like wildfire. Before long, they were taking over, and Milton Keynes was plunged into trad jazz hell.
You should be ashamed of yourself. This playground's for kids, not for full-grown men.
Hello? All I want is a first-class stamp. A bloody first-class stamp, that's all I'm asking for. That's it, a first-class stamp.
Another radical solution was called for. A wild predator was set loose on the streets of Milton Keynes, the flamenco guitar player. the council couldn't foresee was that the two species might interbreed, causing the townsfolk even more inhuman misery. The government had no choice but to send in an elite special forces squad. Eventually, some semblance of normality was restored, and the musicians were selectively reintroduced into the wild. So, the next time you wonder why new towns are so bleeding boring, remember, nature intended them to be that way. When you're a comedian, you have to come up with new material all the time, which is fair enough, really. But the same is also true if you're an academic. Historians, for example, have to come up all the time with new and ever more balmy theories about things that happened in the past. Like recently, a revisionist book was published which asserted that life in the trenches during the First World War was actually quite a jolly affair. What are they going to come up with next? That the bubonic plague was great because everybody got a day off work? Being in a battle, of course, is an extremely unpleasant experience. Post-traumatic stress syndrome is now known to be extremely prevalent amongst ex-servicemen. In 1940s and 1950s Britain, the country must have been full of ex-servicemen who were deeply damaged by their experiences during World War II, which will go some way to explaining some of the things that happened then. Like Bill and Ben the Flower Pot Men, for example. Imagine the scene, right? You've got this children's TV producer who's been nearly tortured to death by the Japanese, and he's pitching ideas to a head of department who was torpedoed 4 times in the South Atlantic and had to spend 15 days adrift in a lifeboat with the rotting corpse of his best friend. And the producer goes, OK, these two guys, right, and they're made entirely out of flower pots, OK? And they live behind a weed, and they only come out when the gardener goes for his lunch, all right? And the dialogue goes, kerflobbalob, a lobbalob, a wobba-wob, kerflobbalob. And the head of department's going, I love it, I absolutely love it. Go away and make me 400 episodes. Or you've got, like, one guy pitching to another guy, and, like, the first guy's, like, head is composed mainly as shrapnel. And, like, the other guy, he was tail-end Charlie in a Lancaster bomber which caught fire, and he's, like, 70% burns. And the first guy's going, OK, I'm thinking singing pigs, I'm thinking contemporary hits, I'm thinking high, squeaky voices. And the second guy goes, makes absolute sense to me. So, there you have it. You know, if a few modern TV producers were shot in the head, it might really improve things.
I don't understand it, Maria. We need to order some more mustard already. I can't think where it's all going.
2 more cups of hot water, please, Mr. Papakopoulos.
Certainly, Bobby.
Having an important business meeting with me agent. There you go, Edna.
Thanks, Bobby, dear.
Now, Edna, I need to speak to you about getting me somewhere, because I'm going to have some outgoings pretty soon. I'm going to need some money, because my therapist has suggested I take up a hobby, like fishing. So I'm going to need money to buy my own trolley.
I'm working on it, Bobby, dear, but I've been very busy with my other clients.
What other clients? I'm your only client.
Excuse me, what about Nookie Bear?
Yeah, you signed up Nookie Bear, but you never signed up Roger de Courcy, did you? I told you at the time, it's bloody stupid signing the ventriloquist dummy if you don't sign up the ventriloquist.
Bobby, dear, your problem is that you do not have a show reel.
A show eel? What's that? Is that some kind of pedigree eel? You know, the people show, like, pedigree eel shows.
A show reel is a video tape with the best performances. Well, your performances.
Oh, but I can't afford to make one of them.
I've got an idea about that. Let's do it.
diddling? Well, bloody sod you then. All right, Bobby Chariot here, top warm-up man and comedian. Separated from me wife, sleeping in my jag on pills for me nails. All right, here we go. Let the laughter roll. Let it roll. Or even begin. OK, bit of biographical detail, right. OK, Bobby Chariot. Married, children. Should have married an asshole, but there you are. Yeah. 2 kids. Girl 4, boy 6. Bloody stupid names, but there you go. All right, yeah, fantastic. I met the wife in Tokyo, yeah? I said, what the sodding hell are you doing here? All right, member of the public. OK, here we go. Indulging a bit of repartee, the old razor-sharp repartee. Yeah, that pink shirt will go well with your malarial complexion there, mate. Yeah, woo, Bobby Chariot, yes. Zoom, zoom, yes, like arrows with the repartee. Will you bloody sod off? Will you bloody... sod off, just sod off, mate. It's all right, just, you know... OK, going very well, going excellently on the old special tape now. It's a very lonely life sleeping in the old jag, you know. And I must admit that sometimes I've resorted to the company of ladies of the night. Or in my case, more like dinner ladies of the night. Yeah. But I must admit, one of them come up to me the other week. She said to me, how about it, love? I said, sorry, love, I've only got £1. She said, it's all right, I've got change. All right, so anyway, I went with her, right? I went with this woman, right? This lady of the night. And now I'm really worried about sexually transmitted diseases, yeah? Christ knows what I gave her.
Bobby, I've got the tape. Leg it.
Thanks a lot. You've been a wonderful audience. I wouldn't normally say this, but... Yeah, this show uses up a lot of comedy material. And what I'm doing here is I'm trawling through all my old appearances on videotape over the last 10, 15 years to try and find some golden nugget of comedy that I, and let's face it, you, have forgotten, so I can incorporate it into the new series. But what's terribly interesting about looking at all this stuff recorded off the air since 1982 is not my own appearances so much, but all the fragments of news reports and TV commercials that I'd completely forgotten. I mean, the news reports seemed so important at the time, and yet who now remembers the time in 1986, I think it was, when a flock of starlings took over Westminster Abbey and declared themselves to be the provisional government of Britain?
The starlings' demands were not met by the government until they began pecking out people's eyes. This is Brian.
Talk about products. Do you now remember Wrigley's bum-flavoured gum? Of course you don't, but the TV commercials were on all the time with their hilarious tagline, "Chew my gummy bottom." Animals and adverts seem to go together well, don't they? We all know the successful ones, of course, the PG Tips chimps and the Andrex puppy. Puppies and toilet paper seem to go together well, don't they? That's because in Roman times they were bred for that very purpose. But who remembers now the unsuccessful advertising animals? The Bodyform boa constrictor, the Barclays Bank hyena, and the Lenore maggots.
Soft, gentle, and wriggly.
What about all the comedy programmes that have been and gone over the years? I bet you don't remember this one.
I've made some lovely, yummy, delicious cakes, Ayatollah.
Ho ho! So have I!
I'm really looking forward to the village cake eating competition.
Yes, I hope we raise a lot of money to conduct the ongoing war against the American Satan.
Help! Somebody help! Blimey!
Oh, dreary flip-flops. The hostage has escaped again.
Blimey!
Oh, sorry, Ayatollah. I must have accidentally left his door open when I was taking him some cakes.
Well, don't stand there like a big silly. Help me catch him. It's a well-known fact that everybody's first job is shit. It's usually something badly paid that you're completely unsuited for. If that's your situation now, don't worry, you're in good company. Malcolm X was a dishwasher. James Joyce was a proofreader, sacked in 1911. The minimalist painter Piet Mondrian was a highly unsuccessful court artist for German TV. This picture is entitled "Scuffle Breaks Out Between Prosecuting Counsel and Defendant." Mahatma Gandhi was a nightclub bouncer. If some thugs tried to get into his club, he would say, "Please do not enter. If you do enter, I will look upon you without anger, and then you will condemn yourselves." He lasted 31 minutes. First jobs are always a disaster, and these people are still in their first jobs. The Edge, Tony Blair, Nicholas Witchell, Benjamin Netanyahu, Sayle, Jilly Cooper, the Queen, Alexei. Look, they're giving away free vodka. This is something we comedians never leave home without. It's a Swiss Army pun knife. You see, even its name's a pun. So useful. I try and keep up with what's cool. I was walking past this black kid the other day and I said, "Hey man, what's the word on the street?" And he said, "No parking." One of the things I do know, though, is that one of the biggest things in the music biz in the last few years has been the rise of gangster rap. And this is an area where reality and image have become very blurred. See, gangster rap grew up in the black ghettos of LA and New York, and you're not a big star in gangster rap unless, like Ice-T or Snoop Doggy Dogg, you've shot somebody. Yeah, you shot somebody. Well, if that's the case, then the best rap group in the world must be the band of the Parachute Regiment.
Disrespected by a sergeant in the RAF, he got a swift death. Never took another breath. Kill a man with my bare hands, but if a sucker wanna use a gun, hell, then I got some. Pop, pop, pop. Other regiments better stop. I'll bring a pain, King of Salisbury Plain. You versus me, that's like Rommel versus Montgomery. 3 Paragon, look, arse to your seat. You got no direction, no correction, no protection. My kid's ready for inspection, sir!
Or perhaps not. Chicken pie and chips, please. What are these strange jars that clutter up the counters of our chip shops? They can't be food, surely. Well, no, they're not. They're actually primitive experiments in cryogenic suspension. Boiled eggs with an obsessive fear of death pay ludicrous amounts of money to be pickled in a special vinegar. These eggs are not dead. They are just in a deep, deep slumber. While they are in this state, they are attended to by men and women in grubby white coats until the miraculous day when they are plucked out of the jar, reborn as living boiled eggs. Oh, and an egg, please.
What is this place? It worked. I'm awake. I have cheated death and I'm reborn in a beautiful world. I, an egg, have cheated death.
Seems incredible to think of it now, but back in the 60s, dressing up in blackface was considered to be suitable prime-time entertainment. In fact, the whole black and white minstrel thing became so popular that it got completely out of control.
The Prime Minister, Harold Wilson.
As I said at party conference, this won't affect the pound in your pocket.
Hello, Mrs. Archer. How's the harvest going?
Awfully well, thank you, Roy.
Thankfully, we live in more enlightened times. Now you hardly ever see a black face on Saturday night prime time. Jimi Hendrix, dead. Phil Collins, alive. Ginger Rogers, dead. Sue Pollard, alive. Francis Bacon, dead. That bloke out of Cooler Shaker, alive. Death be not proud. Who wrote that? The great Elizabethan poet John Donne. He, of course, has snuffed it, whereas Sir Andrew Lloyd stinking Sir Bloody Webber is still stinking bloody with us. Shakespeare, dead. The wankers who wrote 3 lines on a shirt, football coming on, still alive. Bill Shankly, dead. Graham Taylor, alive. Karen Carpenter, dead. The carpenter who f***ed up my bleeding kitchen, alive. It's as if God has developed a nasty, mean, selfish streak. Anybody the least bit decent and wallop, up they go. And what are we left with? The shite. That's what. I'll give you some more examples. Bloke down the pub said he was going to do my accounts and introduce me to some powerful people in American television. Dead. Bloke down the pub, 120 years old, spits in me beer, tells me about the Great War. It doesn't sound that bleeding great to me. He's still alive. Bloke down the pub owes me 80 quid. Dead. Psychopath down the pub says he's going to rearrange my testicles if I don't find the electric edge trimmer that he lent me 6 months ago. Alive, alive, cockles and muscles bleeding out. Bill Hicks, John Lennon, Orson Welles, dead. Michael Bolton. Michael bleeding Bolton. Roger Whittaker, Roger leaving of old stinking bleeding poxy Durham town Whittaker, still bleeding alive. I'll give you another example. Bloke down the pub, he said to me, he said, Charlie, he said, because he's always too pissed to remember me bleeding name, he said, Charlie.
Life is like a double-decker bus. It's red, it's got an upstairs and a downstairs. Sometimes there's a conductor, but these days usually just a driver.
And yeah, you've guessed it, he's still alive, that twat! I mean, if you're mean, if you're selfish, if you got no bleeding talent, you can do what you like, you'll live forever. But if you're the least bit good, if you're the least bit talented, then... No, it's all right, I'm shite.
Well, I think he needed to get it out of his system. More on Life According to Alexei next Friday, 9:30, BBC 2, and stick around. Have I Got News for You is next tonight.